No, Donald Trump is not going to be the Speaker of the House. Many people have brought up Donald Trump's name in the conversation over who will become the next Speaker of the House. And here, didn't just yesterday I said that I was not going to be talking about this anymore? I was not going to be talking about the stupid Speaker of the House stuff. Well, yet here I am, because I'm not a man of my word. I'm a dirty liar. But Trump, as much as people may like him, and as much as he may relish in the conversation, he's not going to be the Speaker of the House. And no, it's not because there's a rule barring anyone indicted of a felony. No. If they really wanted to, they could change the rule. As we all know, there are no rules in Washington other than serving your patrons. Now, Trump himself has now truthed, I believe, a photo of himself holding the Speaker's gavel, photoshopped into the Speaker's chair on the floor of the House. He's giving people the expectation that he may try and become the Speaker of the House. And while that's something that I think would be a great move for both him and the country, he's not going to do it. I think he has no interest in it. I think that he would have shown an interest in it sooner had it been something that he would ever consider. I think that Trump sees the speakership as beneath him, and he does not want to actually have to do that job. I think he likes, for the time being, I think he has a full plate, I should say. It's not like he's lazy. The guy's got a lot going on right now. He's got countless felony indictments against him. He is trying to fight legal battles across most of the 50 states, while at the same time campaigning to become the next president of the United States. And so, no, I don't think he has time for the minutia of the daily grind of the House of Representatives. Instead, I think Trump wants to feel like he has control over whoever the next speaker is, and he wants to feel that that person is first and foremost loyal to him. He essentially wants to have an agent of his own running the House of Representatives, which would be a smart move, of course. Delegating is wise, and I could see Trump going for either Steve Scalise or Jim Jordan, the two declared candidates. Now, do I think that Jim Jordan has a chance? No, Jim Jordan is a perennial candidate for Speaker of the House. He has never really gotten close. It seems that most of the Republican Congress just doesn't like him personally. Jim Jordan is not like he's not a firebrand, like, let's say, Matt Gaetz. Because remember, Firebrand was the name of Matt Gaetz's memoir. Jim Jordan, he's a pretty mild-mannered guy. He's from, Cleveland or something, or Columbus. And he holds some hearings, I guess, which can be contentious, with the Democrats. But overall, if you're a Republican, there shouldn't really be much to... if you're one of these, even these stodgy Republicans like Lindsey Graham, there's not much that you should really be, hating Jim Jordan over. So I think that Jim Jordan, while on paper he should be acceptable, for whatever reason, the other Republicans just don't like him. Kind of like they don't like Ted Cruz, although I don't think it's extreme. The hatred, with Ted Cruz, the reason why Ted Cruz doesn't go very far in the Republican Party is because the insiders, this is sort of just inside baseball stuff, he doesn't get along with them personally. It's that simple. Then you've got someone like Mike Lee, who politically is aligned with, back when Ted Cruz was, before he ran for president, people, would look at Ted Cruz and Mike Lee as a voter in kind of the same light. They seem to be in a similar category. But Mike Lee personally seems to get along very well with other Republicans and even Democrats. And so for whatever reason, or for that reason, I would assume, he is not hated in Washington in the same way that Ted Cruz is. Ted Cruz isn't hated because he shut down the government. Ted Cruz isn't hated because of his politics. He is hated because it's a country club up there. And so I think Jim Jordan has the same problem, and that's probably why he will never become the Speaker of the House. Now, Steve Scalise, politically, as long as I could remember, has been indistinguishable from Kevin McCarthy. But personality-wise, for whatever reason, he is viewed a bit more fondly. He is not seen as the same sort of backstabbing, disingenuous person as Kevin McCarthy is, even though they have pretty much the same policy goals, the same special interests behind them, and just generally the same political career. Steve Scalise also had, he gets some sympathy points because, he literally took a bullet for the GOP when that Bernie bro went nuts and gunned down a bunch of Republicans. Steve Scalise was the one who was the most gravely injured, and he, thankfully for him, made a full recovery. But since then, if anything, he's gotten a lot squishier politically. He's become far more moderate. Getting shot by a Democrat operative who tried to assassinate him, that did not radicalize him in the least. I think that a lot of people have said the same thing about Reagan, that Reagan was much more ideological and proactive in his presidency up until the point in which there was the assassination attempt against him, and after that Reagan became much more reserved and less aggressive in his agenda. I wasn't alive then, so I don't really know how that, evidence-wise, how that shapes up, but I'm just saying that's something I've heard. So, perhaps Steve Scalise is a similar case, because Steve Scalise was not exactly, a Maca warrior or something before he was shot. Now, another name that you might have heard if you've been browsing Twitter the last few days is Byron Donalds. Certain influencers on Twitter have been pushing Byron Donalds and have been coming out with these fake quote-unquote leaks in which, the tweets go something to the extent of, many people are saying that Byron Donalds is the favorite to become the next Speaker of the House. Retweet if you agree. Byron Donalds would be a great Speaker of the House. Obviously, an attempt to try and get Byron Donalds' name trending, which I've seen twice this week. But these so-called rumors always seem to spring up, like, at the specific time. Like, every time I see this, all the tweets are within 5 minutes of each other. So it's like twice now there has just been a push, and everyone must get a text from whoever it is pushing Byron Donalds and saying, hey, everyone, let's tweet about Byron Donalds right now becoming Speaker. And I don't see that going anywhere. He's not even actually, no. What am I saying? He endorsed Jim Jordan today. So, yeah, that went nowhere. Now, I don't know if it was him pushing it directly or if it were people trying to push him to get in. No, maybe that's all they were trying to do was gaslight him into thinking that this was actually true so that he would announce himself. I don't know what was behind that. This is all very cloak and dagger inside baseball. And I don't think we'll ever know the truth. But does it really matter? No. Doesn't matter enough for me to put the time into knowing this, but there's definitely something more going on with the whole Byron Donalds story. But to me, someone who has not had any problems with this Byron Donalds fellow, I don't have any reason to adore him or anything, but I had nothing against him before this. When I saw that stuff, it made him look very suspicious to me. Like, why are these weird coordinated troll campaigns promoting you? Being, so obvious. It seemed slimy to me. And I don't even know that it was him doing it. It could have been, might not have been. Could have been somebody trying to push him into doing it. Who was that? I don't know. I'm not a part of the Slack channels or whatever, wherever these people get their talking points. before they go tweeting about him. So you can look at his tweet endorsing Jim Jordan for Speaker in one of two ways. You can look at it as, okay, the push to draft Byron Donalds failed. He was not spurred into running by this, fake Twitter campaign that appeared to be astroturfed. Or two, it was Byron Donalds himself who tried to kick up these campaigns, and they failed to generate any organic interest after that, and he was not getting calls from people, and no one was seeing these campaigns and seeing him trend twice and going, hey, Byron, you really should become Speaker. And so he gave up and endorsed Jim Jordan. Those are the two ways you could look at this. But either way, he's not in the running. It is between Scalise and Jordan. I guess I would say Jordan would probably be better, but given, he just had a test run with the whole weaponization of the federal government committee that was chaired by Jim Jordan and not Thomas Massie, even though it should have been Thomas Massie. And that really didn't go anywhere. They had some hearings. Jim Jordan said some stuff. He sounded angry, at witnesses, and that was about it. Nothing else came out of it. So, I guess if you watched the hearings, maybe you got something out of it. I wasn't really going to watch them. I think I saw a couple clips from them, but I was waiting, okay, what are these guys going to do? Like, I already know that the federal government was weaponized and is currently weaponized against the citizenry. So I don't need hearings to learn about that. I would like to know, okay, as a result, what are you going to do now that you have this information? What are you going to do with it, Jim? And so far, the answer's been nothing. So, the main story here, which I kind of forgot to get into, was that Trump is going to attend some kind of summit that the GOP is holding to try and strategize about who should become the next speaker. They're trying to decide this in a smoke-filled room, and Trump is going to be one of the guys, with a cigar, although not lit because Trump does not smoke, if I remember correctly. But I think you get the analogy. He's going to be there, and he's going to make his voice heard, and he is going to try and select one of these two guys, or perhaps a third person, to be his pick for Speaker, and then he's going to try and get them through so that they are in his debt, just as McCarthy was in his debt, because certainly McCarthy would have never become Speaker of the House without Trump pushing hard for him. Knowing Trump, though, he always endorses just who the most likely person is, whoever has the best odds going in, which usually means the more boring pick. And like I said, both of these guys, pretty boring, but Steve Scalise is the more boring one. He is the one who was he was the direct next in line after Kevin McCarthy. Just like Kevin McCarthy was next in line after John Boehner, and when John Boehner was kicked out, McCarthy wanted to become the new speaker. Back when the compromise candidate was Paul Ryan. So it's kind of funny to think about that Paul Ryan was, the right, was seen as to the right at the time of Kevin McCarthy, and today most people would see them as somewhat indistinguishable, although some folks were saying that essentially that McCarthy was better for the right than Paul Ryan. But McCarthy was the one that people always wanted to stop. There has never been any interest, even in the House, for McCarthy to become Speaker, but Trump made it happen. He strong-armed the right in the House into supporting him for a number of months. So, with that said, I will see you folks back here tomorrow.